What's up everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel and welcome to some Forza Horizon 5 once again. In today's video, I thought I'd go ahead and make a video showing you guys how to win every single Eliminator game that you will end up playing. Or at least try to bring your win rate up, try to get you to play the game better and improve pretty much. And this whole video I'm going to be talking about every single thing that you need to know about the game to be able to win your games in the Eliminator. And hopefully it helps. If it does help, then of course like the video, share it, do whatever you want to do. Obviously subscribe if you're brand new to the channel and you enjoy this type of content and you want to see more stuff like this on the channel. Of course, like I said, subscribe helps out a lot. Anyway, let's get started. Now, the Eliminator is a game mode on this game where it's basically a battle royale. You spawn in, everybody spawns in the same car, a level 1 Beetle. The cars are listed level 1 to 10. There's 5 cars every single level, or class, whatever. And basically, once you beat an opponent in a race, a head-to-head race, you will end up being able to upgrade your car. You can either take their car, or you can take the next level car up. Now, it'll be completely random what car you get out of that class. So let's say if you're beating someone in a Beetle, and then the next car will be a level 2 car, because the Beetle is a level 1. Level 2 car will then be, could be a Ford Escort, it could be a 911 Carrera, it could be an Audi RS6. Like, I've made a whole tier list of cars that are in the Eliminator. That video is also on the channel, you guys can check that out. But basically, you level up the cars. Once you get to level 10, you have the best cars in the game, the best and the fastest cars in the game. So when you're doing head-to-head races, you will end up winning pretty much most of the races. Obviously, unless you make mistakes and stuff like that, which is what I'm trying to do in this video, to try and reduce the mistakes that you make. Now, one of the big things that I want to actually talk about is the map. Learn the map. That is one of my biggest things. Learn the map. And I don't mean like, going here and then zooming into everything and having a look at everything. You can do that as well. But when you're playing the Eliminator, you will realize that there are massive circles, which I will actually have an actual game of the Eliminator in this video that you're watching right now. It's just a little bit later on, and in that video I'll explain what I'm doing, every single thing bit by bit, just so you guys can understand it. But basically, if you're just starting off with this game and you just want to learn how to play the game, pretty much play it first, play it, do all your races, do everything, explore the roads, explore the map, and then you'll find pretty much all the different areas, hidden areas and good areas and bad areas and stuff like that, that you can use then in the Eliminator in the future. I'll start off from the top left corner of the screen. The biggest and most important thing here is this mountain, which you'll be able to see all the way over there in the distance. Now, there's only, I think, maybe like 3 ways from this side that you watch right now that you can go up this mountain and actually make it all the way to the top where the roads are, which are these ones here, right? Now, it also depends on which car you use, which class of car do you use. If you use something that's really low level, you'll have a much lower chance or much harder time going up the mountain than, let's say, a level 10 car, which what I'm driving right now, is a level 10 car in the Eliminator. Now, like I said, there's different areas on this map that you can actually climb it. Now, one of the areas is this, just going up where this road is. Another one being, again, where this road is. However, there's rocks everywhere. You can see there's rocks here, and there's rocks here, and rocks all the way over here as well. So there's many different types of terrain here, and there's some rocks over here as well. So you have to be very careful with the way you drive up. And this is what I'm saying by learning the map. It's difficult to just drive straight up, especially where the roads are. But there is one path here, which is this. As you can see, there's a little sort of like curve here on this mountain. This is actually made so you can climb it pretty easily. There's also another one where the dirt section is over behind me, which I'll show you guys right now as well on the map. Right here, this bit here, you can also climb it like this, and you can end up somewhere over here where my cursor is right now. But this one, if you're trying to get to the roads here, because sometimes the zone will zoom in on this area here, basically the big area will just get smaller, just like in any BR game. And you can see this bit here is a little bit more tame than, let's say, climbing this where the trees are, right? Like I said, if you're in a lower level car, a lower spec car, you will be having a much more difficult time climbing this thing if you're going over that sort of terrain, right? And again, there's rocks and things like that in the way, which, I mean, you just have to learn where they are and try to avoid them. And I mean, most of the time you won't remember where every single rock is in this game, but as you can see, this doesn't seem as bad. It doesn't matter what car you're in. You can go up this in the Beetle as well. Like, you can go up in very low level cars here. And it's very easy to just make your way up. Like I said, there's not many places here where you can actually climb up this mountain, but this is one of them. And again, just take it up the route where you can see it's the least steep, you know? And that's it. You made it pretty much to the top of the mountain here. And from here, obviously you can go to where your finish line is for your races. Now, there's another place I want to show you guys, which I'm going to go over to the right side of the map here. There are a bunch of rocks and cliffs over here. Sometimes you will end up getting the finish line somewhere behind here, like here, for example, right? But let's say you start your race somewhere over here, right? Now, people would usually do this. They would just go in a straight line. That's what people do, right? It's very normal. You'll go in a straight line, but then you realize you get over here and you're like, oh no, there's big, massive rocks in the way. How am I going to get around those? And it's same with up here. Oh my god, there's big rocks in the way. Ideally, in that circumstance, in that situation, drive around them. Literally just drive around them. Let's say you end up here, right? You just got here. Instead of trying to go over them, which you won't be able to, because there's actual massive rocks in the way, as you can see right here. Let's say you're driving in a straight line, and you're like, oh, now what? Right? You can make your way through these, but it'll still lead you to the same place. It'll still lead you out here to this main area. So, ideally, if you're especially coming from down here, just use the roads. Just use the roads. You know, like I said, there's parts of the map where there are big rocks and big things that always will end up getting in the way. This, again, there's a city here that will end up getting in your way. I don't think there's many finish lines that are in the middle of the city. So the finish lines in this game are actually set, right? So you don't have an actual thing, you know, like it's not completely random. Like there are finish lines that are actually set for your races, which I'll talk about later on in the video again. As you can see, this terrain is pretty bad, especially if you're going to end up doing this thing in a much lower class car. It's going to be so much worse to drive around through these than what I'm doing right now in this car, you know? And like I said, terrain is pretty bad. It's not great for you to drive on here. Lots of trees here as well, which you should have to avoid. And like I said, finish line is probably somewhere over there. Now, let's go to the bottom side of this map. Here, actually, we'll go over here. There is this area with a bunch of monuments and a bunch of things. This is practically in the center of the map, pretty much. I think it's just a little bit to the right of the center of the map. But as you can see, there are small gaps between all of these. Now, these are important for you to remember, right? Especially here. This is like an L shape here. There's gaps at the top, and then there's gaps right here. So if you have to, for whatever reason, if you have the finish line, let's say on the other side of one of these, try to remember where the gaps are here, right? They're not actually that difficult to remember. Just as long as you remember that, I think there's like three little, I guess, monuments here between the big one and that one. But you can still go between all of these. You just have to be very, very careful how fast you drive and try to avoid them, right? If you go further down this way, it is much more difficult because I think some of these, as you can see, they have monuments behind these, but then these ones don't actually have like openings here. Like you can't actually get through. You see what I mean? Like they're just not split like some of those ones up there. So you just have to be really, really careful and try to remember where these gaps are in this area of the map here, because sometimes, like I said, if you let's say start your race here and you have to end your race down here, you will a lot of the time have to go through the middle of these, and just remember where the gaps are in these. So again, that's what I'm saying by learning the map, like just things like that. Another big thing that I need you guys to learn is the river, right? The river and the bridges for the river, especially now in the stormy season or the wet season. If you go into the festival playlist, the map actually does change. So the storm season or the wet season, the map actually does end up changing differently. As soon as it goes to dry season, the actual riverbed itself will end up drying up, so you can actually just drive straight over this, like from this side to the other side. But right now, you can only get over this bit of water by using the bridges. So you have to kind of remember where they are. So like I said, if I want to go over to the other side, I can't actually go this way because this is deep enough that your car will sink, and that's pretty much what will end up happening. So try to remember bridge right here where the dam is, right next to this town. There's another bridge over here where the town is. However, this part here just before the dam, you can cross, right? It's shallow enough that you can actually cross, but it's mostly this part here, right? There's a big chunk here, which is all this area that you cannot actually cross the water, and you have to use the bridge. You have to use this or this bridge here. Anything after this, you can actually make it over. There is a bit of an obstacle here. I think there's some rocks over here, so you have to avoid those if you're going that way. but try to remember that. And that's pretty much it. Again, here, there's just some hangers and stuff in the way. There's not really much. Okay, now another spot that I actually really wanted to show you guys is this bit here on the map. Right here where I am right now. A lot of the times you'll end up having the finish line somewhere around here. You'll probably have one somewhere here and also somewhere down here. So you'll have to be really, really careful as soon as you get to this point here, right? These, you cannot break, right? You will end up getting stuck. You'll crash into these and you won't be able to break them. You have to be really, really careful when you end up here, so you don't end up crashing into these wooden planks here. So be careful. Be careful when you're going over this. I think one of the finish lines is literally on this bridge right in front of me here. So that's what I'm saying. Like, be careful when you're entering this part of the map as well, which is right here next to the swamp area. You'll see bits of water and stuff like that. But you'll have these wooden paths up here. These, like I said, you won't be able to go through them. You will end up just straight up crashing into them, and you will have to go around. So just be careful when you get here. And like I said, finish line is always going to be on this bridge here. You'll have it's just a set finish line, and you'll see it. The more you play the game, the more you'll see it, right? So that's pretty much it. Now, I think what I'm gonna end up doing is bringing up the actual game itself, so I can talk about it and show you guys what I've done on it. Now, I actually ended up starting a little bit late here, so as you can see, I've already upgraded to a different car. I am in the middle of the highway, which I'll show you guys what's happening here. Basically, I ended up just doing one race. I spawned over at the street festival, and as you can see, I'm looking right now around the map for the actual blimp and to see where the edges of the map are, right? So that's pretty much what I was looking around there for. Now I'm going to stick to the highway here for a little bit, just because I want to go ahead and try to see if I can find some people. I'm going this way because I just want to get off. I just want to go north. I've seen some arrows earlier on before I finished that race, and I wanted to go this way pretty much. So as you can see in this game, I'm actually going towards players. I'm trying to challenge players. You don't have to do this, right? You can play a little bit more safe. You can wait for people to come to you. But then this way, I'm actually able to go and upgrade my car a little bit more. Now, as you'll be able to see at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, I'm strictly going for these people because there is a player, or there's a little arrow that's moving in across my screen very quickly. I'll stop it there for a second. There was an arrow that was moving across the minimap very quickly, which means I'm actually very close to him, right? Obviously, the further away it is, the slower it'll move on the minimap. So the closer I am, the faster it'll move on the minimap. It's very, very obvious when that happens. And I want to go challenge people, right? Now, I saw that this guy is in a Mini, like the X-Raid Mini, which I knew that it was an easy beat for me. And what I wanted to do here, because I knew that the blimp was behind me. The blimp basically marks the center of the zone. Now, here's the thing about this game. They changed it so it's a lot more RNG, right? Where the finish line is going to be, compared to what it was in Horizon 4. In Horizon 4, a lot of people actually have asked me before on this thing. It's like, how do I know a lot of the time where the finish line is going to be, right? And that way, I get to pretty much see exactly where it is by positioning myself technically to the back of the zone, right? So if I have, let's say, the circle to my back, which I'll show you guys a little bit later on in the video, because I do remember I paused this. See, here I immediately started turning to the left because that's where the blimp was, but the finish line decided to put it the other way, right? So this isn't facing, or this isn't going towards the center of the zone. This is going towards one of the edges of the zone, right? So again, it's really, really weird that they changed this so it's a little bit more random instead of it being, you know, me reading the zone and going to the finish line where I know it is. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of the times I will end up reading this, and a lot of the times it will be correct in the way that it's actually making me drive. But sometimes it'll do stuff like this, where it'll put it in a random place. Now, at that point, where RNG is concerned and stuff like that, I mean, you can't really do anything about it. You just have to sort of hope for the best and hope that you drive the best way that you possibly can. But again, that mini is really slow. I knew I could take him really easily and eliminate him from the game, so I decided to go challenge him. If you want to play, like I said, a little bit more safe, if you're going just for wins, if you see someone in a stupid fast car and you know it's a level 9, 10, whatever, and you know you don't have a chance of beating him, maybe ease off, maybe go, you know, drive somewhere else, try to race someone else as well, and you'll be able to just get away from them. I don't fully recommend just running away from people, because I feel like that just takes away from the fun of the game. It's so much more entertaining and so much fun for you when you challenge people in high level cars. I'm gonna stop it there for a sec. When you challenge people in high level cars and you beat them, You know, it's so fun when they make mistakes. And a lot of that also, again, comes down to map knowledge. You can have the level 10 car, you can have the fastest car in the game. If you don't have map knowledge and you crash the trees, you crash into the bridges, or you go through the rivers and stuff like that, you will end up losing the game to someone that will have a better map knowledge. Now here, as soon as I got to this finish line, I ended up turning fully to the right. And the reason why I did that is because if I was going to keep going straight, if I play that just a little bit more, 1 sec here. Come on. It won't let me, I don't think. I don't think I'll be able to see it. I won't be able to see it. Basically, I turned this way because there was a lot of arrows in that direction, and I wanted to go and challenge more people. If I was to keep going in the direction that I was driving when I was racing, I would have just fully went to the edge of the circle, right? And I didn't want to do that because there's no point. There's not going to be anybody there for me to race. Here, I went and I continued driving further and further, as far as I possibly could before I changed, because I want to see if that person in front of me, as you'll be able to see now, there's a little arrow right in front of me on the mini-map, and that guy is... There you go. That guy there is a player that I can challenge. The other two players that drove past me on the mini-map, they were already racing each other. I can't challenge them. But that person in front of me is a player that I can challenge. And I immediately noticed that, right? And here, I'm trying to position myself on this highway because I know that the finish line is going to be the direction that I'm driving right now. It can't be behind me, right? I'm still way too close to the edge of the zone for them to put the finish line behind me. So it has to be in this direction that I'm facing right now. And this guy is coming towards me, which is even better, right? I get to go challenge him. He did end up turning around, but I'm in a much faster car. And now the finish line will be ahead of me. Easy, right? Very easy to read. Again, all these little things you end up learning more and more as you're doing these. Here, I probably should have stayed a little bit longer on the highway and then just taken the, I guess, the exit ramp off this thing. Probably would have been a little bit better, but I knew that this car was much faster than his, and I just decided to take it off-road. You know, the Porsche Cayenne is a very good car to race with, in my opinion. Especially off-road. It's quite heavy, so it doesn't actually get slowed down by a lot of the things you crash into, you know, like bushes and trees, well, breakable trees and barriers and stuff like that. It actually doesn't get slowed down too much. So as you can see, pretty easy win. I already had a lot of momentum from when I was doing that race. Here again, as soon as I get to the finish line, I see all the arrows behind me when I looked at the minimap, and I immediately turn around. That's it. The game automatically puts it in reverse for me for whatever reason. It just changes down a gear. I don't know why it does that. If I'm driving a bit too slow, then it will end up putting it into reverse. I don't know why. Anyway, it's just a bug in the game. Here, I have the GTR. You can see where the center of the circle is. It's right in front of me. It's on the other side of these pyramid things here. That's where the blimp is. I'm again just going towards people, going to try and challenge more people. I'm in a level 8 car with already 24 players left in the lobby. So I'm in a very good position here. So right now, I'm just going to search for more players to challenge. I see that that guy is racing. Then I also assume that the guy to his left is also racing him, one of those guys to the left. So that's why I keep driving straight here, and just to see if I can find someone. There's another person that's racing, so which means that the other guy in the distance there is also racing as well. So I can progress pretty much and get to a level 10 car. There, I paused the game just so I can show you guys how close I am to the back of the zone and where my positioning is now. As soon as the zone touches, obviously more car drops will spawn and stuff like that. But I don't really care for car drops right now. I'm trying to see where the people are, try to race them. So now, I'm going to find more people. I see someone on the map. I use the road because it's much faster than going off-road and straight into those houses over there. So I use the road here, try and speed up as much as I possibly can. Catch up to this guy. I don't actually see what car he's in, but I think I have a pretty good chance in racing whoever it is that I'm racing. As soon as I see it's an STI, I turn around. As soon as I start to race him, I already stared at the minimap. I can see right now that the new zone, the new center circle, has now moved in, right? So the zone basically touched on the outer circle. Now it's zoomed in to make a smaller circle. And as you can see, I'm just about to drive out of the zone. And in this situation, what I've done wrong here, and I want to tell you guys something a little bit differently than what I was doing here. Go on the spot and turn around. It's much faster than doing what I'm about to do right now. Basically, turn around here, right? You immediately see that I'm driving out of the zone, so the finish line won't be out of the circle, out of the next circle. It'll be closer towards the inner circle. So, as you can see, I'm turning around here, but I'm sliding fully around. Don't do that. It's much slower than going in the game, braking hard, doing a full 180 instantly on the spot, and then accelerating off in the distance. Me sliding around like this wastes so much time. It wastes a lot more time than stopping on the spot, turning around fully, like just with a handbrake, and then just shooting off again. And there's another drop that I drove past that obviously wasn't there before, which shows that the cars will, or new car drops will end up spawning. Now again, I'm in a much faster car than this person. This is a pretty good tip here that I'll show you guys. Whenever you come to these sort of jumps, these hops in the ground, try to slow down. It's a lot better slowing down than sending yourself miles into the distance and maybe spinning out or flipping upside down or something like that. Slow down a little bit, and then when you take the jump and you land back down again, especially when you're in a really fast car like this GTR for example, it's much easier to land it and control it and just drive off again. Here, as you'll be able to see, well, in this situation here, I just sort of went through the middle of the tents, but you see me lift off a lot of the times. Here again, a bit of map knowledge, and just pretty much whatever you see in your distance. There's a small bridge here. Take the bridge. Okay, I could have just went in a straight line and went into the little river that's down there. That would have slowed me down a lot. Just go over the bridge. It's much easier. You won't end up slowing down. And again, try to avoid big trees. You'll end up realizing which ones are the big trees that you crash into, and they'll slow you down, and which ones aren't. Here, I fully turned around. I knew that this was the back of the zone, so there's not going to be anybody behind me. Now, why did I stop here? Why did I fully stop here instead of just driving back towards the people where there's more people for me to challenge? Now, here's a good tip for you guys. When you're in this position, when the zone is this small, right? It's very, very small on the map right now. The amount of finish lines that are in this zone are much less, obviously, than the ones in the bigger zone. Which means that not only did I have this race that ended here right now, I was thinking in my head, it's like, the zone is really small. Someone else might have had a similar race, and they're going to come over here. There's 20 players in the lobby. There's people challenging each other all the time. Someone else will have a similar race, and their finish line is going to be the exact same finish line that I just had here. So what I thought to myself is, I'd change car, and I'll chill around this area, because someone will end up coming to me. They have to come to me, right? That's what makes sense. And guess what happens? Two people racing each other right now on the map, and they're coming over to me. And then as soon as I see what car they're in, I'm like, this is an easy win for me for the next race. Level 4 Audi S1. I'm in a level 9 Andretti Beetle, which these are so good. All of the level 9 cars are really, really good in this game. And then we just wait against, like, this guy, if he was smart, he would have just driven away. But he didn't. He wanted to sort of challenge me. Or maybe he just wanted to try to see if he could get an upset here. I paused here for a second again, because as you can see, I'm already revving my car to, to red line. Because I'm already ready here to just shoot off and just drive away from this guy. Because I know as soon as I'm able to challenge him, I press the button, I press my horn, challenge, and I'm off already. He still stood still, and I'm already gone. You get what I mean? Like, little things like that you will end up learning on how to play this game and how to improve. Here, I went straight through the river. These are so fast, like I said. These are literally rally cars, and they're all really, really fast in level 9. They're so good. So not many things will end up slowing this thing down, and if they do, it accelerates so quickly that, as you can see, just driving in a straight line across the map is very, very easy. Now, I got actually kind of blessed with the cars that I had here and how they played. Now here, I just spotted this guy in the distance, and I was like, you know what, I'll go challenge him, but he's already racing someone. I got a level 10 Hoonigan RS 200 Evo. Love this thing. It's very, very good. I'm going towards the highway here because a lot of the races on the highway are actually really, really good. And not only that, but if I position myself to the other end of the highway, I guess, or I end up challenging people that are on this side of the highway, it's easy for me to realize where the zone is. So that's why I ended up pausing the game there, just to see where the zone was shrinking to exactly. So I go challenge this guy. I knew 100% that the finish line was going to be exactly behind me and on the other end of the highway, right? There's the guy that's spawned up on the map right now. Finish line can't be ahead of me. We both turn around. This guy, I don't know if he saw me or not, but I wanted to obviously go and challenge him. So I'm chasing him down a little bit. He's in a level 7, if I remember correctly, Jeep Trailcat. Now these are very good, the Jeep Trailcats, in terms of not slowing down when they hit things. So as you can see, he's just flying around here. He has no care in the world. But obviously this thing is much faster. And here I'm already facing the right direction. As you can see, the zone has moved in again, and I'm out of the zone. And the area on the map has shrunken down into basically just the other end of the highway where I'm driving towards right now. And I already know that the finish line is going to be there, so I already position myself so I can be on the actual highway itself, where terrain is just, asphalt. It's just a straight line. And I just go. I go for it. Unfortunately, I hit a bunch of fences and stuff like that, which slowed me down a little bit, but this thing is so fast when it comes to acceleration. No, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, here, I just end up going towards the other end of the highway. He's already given up here. I think he's just ended up fully stopping on the highway. And then here as well, just so I don't send myself out of the zone, I start braking early, and I even use the middle divider bit and crashing those into the divider basically to slow me down, so I don't keep flying out of the zone pretty much as I'm driving. And at this point, I wanted to show you guys. I knew 100% that in this situation, as soon as the Funko came up on my screen, now this is not a very good car for the Eliminator. It's good if you're driving in a straight line. As soon as you start turning with it, it is terrible. It's a really, really bad car. So I wanted to just take it to show you guys the difference between Hoonigan RS that I was just driving right now and the Funko, and you'll see exactly why. Here, I wanted to sort of challenge this guy, but I didn't actually press the button yet. I thought I did for a second, but I didn't. Doesn't matter. I ended up actually finding someone else that was chasing that guy in the Audi R7. Again, I knew the finish line was going to be somewhere ahead of me. Now look at the acceleration of this thing. It is insane, but it's so extreme that the front end lifts off the ground. Now again, this thing doesn't slow down when you crash into the trees or anything like that. It just keeps going. Really easy win for the Funko, to be honest with you. Again, if you're racing in a straight line, perfectly fine here. But when you're just like start to take corners and stuff like that, it is a terrible car. Now here, I ended up going and changing car again because I didn't want to keep the Funko for the last zone, especially when I got the Centenario as my choice here. So I wanted to take that. Main and most importantly because this has, I think, a higher top speed than the Funko. Now here, as you can see, I'm actually driving away from someone. And you may be wondering, like, why am I driving away from someone? Not the guy that's racing here, but the guy behind him. Now, I'm so close to the end of the game here right now. The zone is shrinking, or the arena is shrinking, as you can see at the top left of the screen. It says it, which means that as soon as it touches and it reaches about 35 seconds, you won't be able to challenge people to head-to-heads anymore. So instead of me challenging someone to a head-to-head and wasting my time, I've already come down here to position myself to do the final race, right? So I'm driving out here. You'll be able to see where the zone is. As soon as the big big zone touches the little zone, that's it. Now the finish line from there will end up most likely being somewhere at the other end of the highway, which is exactly what I envisioned when I picked this car. I was like, this is going to be a very good car to just race down the highway as fast as possible. And here I even showed it. And I thought that the finish line was going to be somewhere there. The finish line actually ended up being more to the left of where my positioning is right now with my cursor. So it's a little different. But a lot of the time, one of the final, you know, finish lines of this is somewhere where my cursor is right now. Right, so you'll have a finish line at the other end of the highway a lot of the time. But I think the actual zone itself has to finish, or this little zone has to be a little bit before the bridge, if I remember correctly. Regardless, there's the head-to-heads disabled, 34 seconds in. And here, I just sort of plan when I should start accelerating, because you can actually exit the big zone itself without getting a timeout, with maybe around 4 seconds left, depending on what your speed is when you're coming out of it, which you see right now. That I've tried to time this perfectly, so I already have a big run up. These guys are all just crumbled up here. Like, they're all just grouped up. I have no idea why. They should have just had a run up here. Probably at around, I'll say this point, I could have probably been a lot closer to the zone in front of me. But again, you can exit the zone here, as you can see, and you'll be fine. As long as you don't exit the bigger zone here, as you can see, there's like a little, I guess, extra to it. As long as you don't exit that way before the time, you're fine. You are perfectly fine. Now here, I probably should have stayed on the highway a little bit longer, but I thought to myself, I was like, you know what, let's just cut it. I feel like I'm in a really fast car, and I could just probably cut this entire thing. This thing again keeps the speed up really, really well. It's got a lot of power and it's a lot of acceleration. Like it's just really good. Now crashing into things like that, you can't really do anything about it. Crashing into hay bales or carts or tractors and stuff like that, it will end up slowing you down quite a bit. Now here, I decided to position myself to the left of this house. This house has some walls around it where you can't actually break them, so you have to go around it. I do remember that as soon as I seen it earlier. I'm like, you know, let's just go around it. Here I tried to position myself so I can go back onto the road again, or as close to the road again as possible, because there's less trees to crash into. Again, I tried to position myself in a way, and as you can see even here, instead of going in a straight line between those trees, I tried to position myself so I can go around them as much as I possibly could. There my car was just bouncing. Like, I just ended up hitting the tree because my car was just straight up bouncing up and down. So my steering is messed up. You can't actually steer, obviously. When you're off the ground, it makes perfect sense. So a couple of mistakes here and there is fine. I mean, it's hard when you're doing like 150, 160 miles an hour off-road and, you know, you're trying to turn and do stuff like that. So here again, I saw a little gap between those trees, so I decided to sort of go in that direction. And here I slowed down a lot, just so I can actually end up going between all these trees. Racing in the jungle or racing between these trees is just a hassle. It's annoying to do. There's lots of trees that get in the way. Try to slow down. There's no point of you speeding up and driving as fast as possible. You can see how slow I took it here, but again, because I had such a fast car for the end, I was able to just, you know, fly ahead very, very quickly. And then I had, I guess, that extra bit of like relaxation where I could slow down and go for a finish line. Pretty easy win. Very textbook win here. Nothing too crazy here. 7 eliminations as well, so it's not like I was just sitting around and waiting for people to challenge me. I was actually actively going for people so I could challenge them. But that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. Again, watch that video. Try to take in as much information as possible. Hopefully it helped. Hopefully everything that I talked about helped in this video. And if it did, like the video, comment, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. If you have any questions, ask me down below, and I'll definitely be able to talk to you guys about them. Car drops are the one thing that I probably didn't really mention a lot in this video. I feel like they're very self-explanatory. You go to the thing, you press the button, you get the car drop. That's pretty much it, you know? Like, you just get the upgrade or the downgrade. If you want to go on downgrade for whatever reason, you can do that as well. So that's pretty much it. There's nothing else to this that I can show you guys. But that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.